really am. Okay, welcome to AAA Hobbies in Magnolia, New Jersey. We're on Route 30. We're doing a seminar today about science fiction modeling with our good friend Mark Myers, who's a noted model builder, model maker, has been published in various publications, magazines, and so forth. So Mark has a lot of great stuff to impart to you guys, so enjoy, and here's Mark.
Thank you, Jack.
This is like news now good, right?
I feel it. Again, thanks again for everyone coming here. Some people came an hour away, 45 minutes away. Thank you. Hopefully by the end of our little class here, I'll have imparted some more tips and more ways to be successful in your builds and have more fun with them. So a little bit about myself. I've been building, there we go, deja vu again. So I've been building kits for a long time, and I'll tell you a quick story of how I had to start building kits. My father, God bless him, he's not here. He passed away a number of years ago. But when I was a kid, we all had that AMT kit, the Enterprise. He bought it, my parents bought the kit for me. I wanted it built, I couldn't build it. My father, God bless him, sat at the kitchen table with me next to him. And he spent hours trying to thread those grain of wheat light bulbs through the top and the bottom. I think there were only 2 lights on that original kit, right? Yeah. I don't remember any other lights.
Saucer up or down.
Right, it was the green, they were green too.
Green too, yeah.
Right, okay.
Also because they were green filaments too.
Which is correct. If we'll go into that a little later, yeah. But they were right on that. At that time, they were right. Father spent hours. So he gets a phone call. He gets up, and I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I'm an impatient kid. I'm like, I don't want the lights in there. I sat there, and I start pulling the lights in. And he saw me, and went, oh my gosh, no, oh. At that point, guess who was building his own model kits? It was me. So, thanks for that situation. I started doing my own builds. As I said earlier, although you see all the science fiction stuff up here, and that's why we're all here, I actually like building tanks, U-boats. I love U-boats. Submarines. I love submarines for some reason. The Nautilus is here, but I like U-boats. American boats. I like planes. Jack's got a beautiful plane back there. We'll take a look at it hopefully a little later. You know, I like that too, and Jack and I have talked about it. I'm going to try and get away from this for a while and maybe build a plane just to break things up. But what we're going to do today, we're going to go through how I do this, how I achieve the results with these kits and these models. And I think that's why you guys are here, to see how you could do the same thing in your own style, how to get to the same results that I did. It wasn't easy for me, but it is fun. And one of the guys here, what's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon?
Yeah.
Brandon brought up a good, and we'll talk about his question later, but research. Research for me is part of the fun in doing models, whether it be, since we're here for sci-fi, but everything. So, having said that, what do I exactly mean by that? Okay, for the Millennium Falcon, there is so much material out there on the Millennium Falcon. Now, here's what we have to do. Somebody out there who's ignorant will say, well, Millennium Falcon's a Millennium Falcon. There's no difference. There is. You have to pick which Millennium Falcon that you want to build, because you'll drive yourself crazy. Believe me, this has happened. Which is why I am in the state I am. Ask my wife, right? So you have to figure out which Millennium Falcon you want to do, and exactly how do you want to go about it. So do you want to do it like the miniature, or do you want to embellish it, or do you want to just do it out of the box, which is all good. They're all good. But see, me personally, the challenge for me is to get it as close to the actual filming miniature as possible. I know that's crazy, isn't it? Okay? That's crazy. Now, what does that mean? That means that, so this kit here is the Bandai Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. You guys aware of Bandai? We got some Bandai kits here, maybe?
Yeah, right down toward the end there.
No problem there.
There you go.
Oh, there you go, the little Falcon. Okay? This is the Perfect Grade Falcon. This is 1/72 scale. For my money, this is the best, the most accurately produced model kit of a fictional spacecraft ever. That's a bold statement, right? But this thing has everything on it that the original, this is what I was talking about, which Millennium Falcon do you want to do? So, my personal preference is, and but it looks like you guys probably are in a similar boat. When I saw Star Wars in 1977, not A New Hope, which is fine, I know that's what it's called now. It was called Star Wars. I sat in the movie theater, like everybody in this room, and as soon as the Star Destroyer flew, I was hooked.
Yeah.
When I saw the Millennium Falcon, which was the ship of Han Solo, Harrison Ford's character, and the Wookiee, first of all, those two became my favorite characters. I didn't care for Luke Skywalker. I thought he was an annoying kid or whatever, but Han Solo was cool. He was like a hot rodder, he was like a cowboy, a western, and then the Wookiee, who cannot like Chewbacca, right? Then they showed a ship, and Mark Hamill goes, what a piece of junk. I'm looking, I'm like, how's that a piece of junk? That's beautiful. So this kit, this particular kit, is based off of the 5-foot filming miniature that was originally produced for Star Wars in 1977. And it has, there's only a couple things they missed, and this is the kind of nut I am, and several other guys that pointed it out too, that were missing. And the reason it was missing is because they got access to Lucasfilm, and they took all kinds of measurements from Bandai, photographs, everything. The parts that were missing were on the filming model during filming, and then had fallen off or got lost and whatever. So there was all kinds of screen captures and all that, but the research for this, I had an accumulated years because I had the old, did you guys have the old AMT kit? Right? The old AMT kit, which when you looked at the box, you're like, wow, is that what's going to be in the kit? No, we didn't get that in the kit, did we? It was very disappointing. And so that's the story behind this. And the whole thing is research. For me, that's part of the fun. I like to get it as close to the filming mix. That also means with the lighting. And I'll go through this itinerary so we, things make sense. But the Millennium Falcon, the miniature, the only place it lit, pretty much, I mean, there's lights in the cockpit in the back, but the only place that lit on the original Millennium Falcon was the engine. You can, now, here's what we need to figure out. Okay, so do I want to do it like the miniature, or do I want to embellish it? If you want to embellish it, I've seen where somebody put lights in the engines in the back. They're lit up, these circular things. If that's your thing, that's good. But it's just a matter of, there's no wrong or right way. That's what I'm trying to say. Anybody who opens up a box and starts putting plastic together gets my respect. You guys, that's just part of the joy of it. It doesn't matter. It's just that to make yourself so you don't go crazy, because of Brandon's question, he was asking because sometimes he gets a block and he don't know how to, you just got to pick, if it's a sci-fi ship, because 9 times out of 10, none of them make sense. You can't fit an interior in it. What can oh, the Shuttlecraft, okay. This is the Shuttlecraft from the original Star Trek, okay? I'm sorry if I'm jumping around, but this is there's no way the interior fits in this. They built a full-size set, which wasn't full-size, it was 3/4 size. And you see Nimoy and Shatner when they're coming out, they're ducking down to come out of the shuttle. But inside the shuttle, Nimoy, who's almost 6 foot, I would think, or was 6 foot, he's kind of almost standing straight up. I mean, he's hunched a little bit. No way you could do that with this. It's just impossible. So you gotta, what I'm trying to say is you gotta pick and choose your battles and realize that this stuff is, 99% of it is all fabricated and made pretend. I got, and it's my fault, I get into constant debate sometimes about the merits of, well, wait a minute, they want to argue about this Enterprise. Well, wait a minute, shouldn't it be, the bridge should be turned that way? Okay, look, the bridge, so the big debacle with the bridge on the Enterprise, right? You can see on the top of the Enterprise, there's the turbo shaft. If everybody's familiar with the Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Star Trek, on the set of the Enterprise, the bridge is, the turbo shaft is off to Shatner's shoulder over here.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the bridge is turned, no, the bridge is not turned that way. That's because the director and the set people said it would be more dramatic to have the guest stars coming in over Shatner's shoulder than directly behind Shatner. That's all. They try to justify, and it's frustrating sometimes, and I should know better, but that's you got to pick and choose your battles. All right. Anyway, so
They should have fixed the model.
yeah.
Tell us about you, Mark. Tell us about the things you've
They
done.
don't want to hear about
Yeah,
that.
we do.
That's boring stuff.
Where have you been published? What's
Okay, a little bit
about you?
So a little bit about me. All right, so I've been doing this for a long time, and through the internet, which can be and can't be your friend sometimes, but I found that as long as I just show this stuff and try and share, it's been good to me, pretty much. I've written articles for, do you guys remember these, this magazine, Sci-Fi and Fancy Modeler? Okay, so I've written several articles for these. Here's the derelict from Lost in Space. I actually, Mobius actually sent me the test shot and had me built it up. So on the box, did I have it over here? No, the Jupiter 2. Oh, we'll talk about that too. They sent me that, and I built it up and I did the photography for it. It's a nice kit. If you guys are like, I'm a big Irwin Allen fan, so I like the design and all that. What else? So then there's the garage kits from a friend of ours named Drew Huffman, who had Crow's Nest. You guys remember Crow's Nest? Drew passed away a number of years ago, but he pioneered some kits that were more like injected molded kits. One of them is the spaceship from Planet of the Apes. So I built these up and I wrote an article about them. They're if you can get one, I don't know how you could get one, but if you could get one, pick it up. They are amazing kits. And so, I mean, then I got Amazing Figure Modeler, and I have a copy here that I'll give away to somebody. Maybe we'll do a raffle. I don't know. We'll do something. But the Millennium Falcon, I wrote that article for them. Okay. I've been fine scale modeler a few times. This Falcon has been in fine scale modeler with our friend Jeff. He's right below my feet. In fact, the Enterprise has been in fine scale. There it is. And this was, I can't see it on my glasses, but anyway, there she is. That's that Falcon right there. So, well, this is going to be part of our class today. See the photography there? I took that picture. Now, you can't just, for me, I don't like to just, there's, like, we could just take a picture of stuff and then we got a copy of it or something, but if we're going to publish something, I want to make it look good. So, and I don't have any degree in photography. I did go to art school, but I didn't go to art school for photography. I learned this stuff on my own. How'd you do that? The internet. I read up on how they lit things. The Millennium Falcon was lit. All the miniatures were lit. And I tried to replicate. This is actually my attempt at replicating that box art from the original AMT Falcon, which this is what was on the box, but that's not what we got in the kit. The other thing was, which was kind of cool, Doug Drexler. Anybody know Doug Drexler? Doug's involved in Star Trek. I become friends with Doug, and through Facebook, of all places, he reached out to me because he saw my work. And he said, Mark, I'd like to use your Enterprise in my catalog. I mean, in my calendar, because most of the images in there are of, you know, somebody will sit and graphically design it in front of a computer, which are beautiful, by the way. They look amazing. He said, but I want a real model, a practical model. I'm not the only one that's done it, but he came to me about it. And so I said, sure, yeah, why not? And I teamed up with a friend of mine. His name's Jeff Summers. Jeff and I, actually, if we could turn the, I don't know if we could do it, but that Jupiter 2 in the back of that box is my model, okay? All right, let's take a look at this.
You got it?
Yeah. See that? Okay, Mobius put this on the back. I was like over the moon when they did that. That's my build-up. And Jeff and I teamed up for that. Jeff put a boring shot of that Jupiter 2, which was on my son's shelf in his room, and put it over a planet like that. And the owner of Mobius at the time told me that Kevin Burns, who he's passed away too, but he was running the Irwin Allen, he had the Irwin Allen license, Synthesis Entertainment. He's passed away within, I think, last year, and I'm embarrassed. But he liked that image, and they put that image on the box. So that was my first hooray, my first feather in my cap. Like, wow, this is great. So Jeff and I teamed up again, and this is the image that we put in the calendar. Doug Drexler liked it and he put it in his calendar. So we said, hey, let's do that again. What can we do this time? So I'm an original Trek guy. I don't like, it's not that I don't like, it's just not my cup of tea. Next Generation's probably as far as I go with Trek. I can't, the other stuff, I'm a pretty much original series guy. What's that?
DS9?
I like some of DS9. Yeah, I mean, I like the Trials and Tribulations of, well, there it goes. It's, yeah, that's like a nod to the original series.
About that.
I like Cisco.
Yeah.
I thought he was cool. I like the Runabout. I like the space station. But it didn't do the same thing for me that the original show did. And the designs did. That's all. I mean, I'm glad that there are people that enjoy it and stuff. That's great. I'm just a boring individual. Just ask my wife. But anyway, so we came back and did it again, but this time with a refit. So Doug put this in his account. Now, Jeff, to his credit, I didn't get involved anymore with any more images. He's been published, I think, once or twice more with different images of I think the Enterprise, not the D, what's the E, with the arrow-shaped one. He did a nice composite of that and stuff. So that's a little bit about me. I guess hopefully the passion for this stuff comes through, and that's why these people have said, yeah, you know what, we like your work. We want to do that. So that's a little bit about me. I told you it'd be boring. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't care. So,
Different types of sci-fi modeling.
different types of sci-fi modeling. Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome. I'm going to help.
Which goes back to what we were just talking about. If you want to do it out of the box, do you want to embellish it, or do you want to make it look like the actual filming miniature? And none of it's wrong. It's all good. I'm not just saying that to be politically correct or anything. I'm saying that because as long as someone can sit there and take the time and put their heart and passion into building something like that, yeah, it's a win-win. First of all, I asked Brandon, did you have fun?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then you won, right? As long as you're having fun. Now, there's different ways you can improve on your fun, and that's where I deviated a little bit. I do some out of the box stuff, not anymore because it's too quick. So I embellish it, or my biggest thing is like we already discussed. I try to make it as close to the actual filming miniatures as possible. That's fun for me. That's the way I had fun. It might not be fun for you. You may want to paint the robot purple and put a feather on his head. That's great, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's what he wants to do. So the different forms of sci-fi modeling, that's what I mean by that. The biggest thing so to break that down even further, if you wanted to go and do it like the miniature, you have to do the research. That's fun for me. I don't know, you guys enjoy looking up? I'm sure you do, because that's all we do, right? We'll sit and watch. My friend here, Eric's got his Space 1999 shirt. Hi, Todd. He's got your shirt on, by the way. But, so we watch Space 1999. Not everybody's cup of tea. I love it. I don't care how hokey they say it is, and I love Landau and Bain, and the design work on the show, the Eagles, right? Beautiful, beautiful. And there's so much information out there to do these things like the miniatures. So while we're on that subject, we'll briefly go through what I'm talking about.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you do your research,
Yes, sir.
you watch the show, I'm sure you use the internet like we all do when we Google things and look for pictures. Are there any really good resources that you can impart, places to go for specific information?
So for Space 1999, since we're talking about Eagles, there's a place called Catacombs of the Moon on the web. There's also our group that we belong to, Eric and I, is called Space 1999 Props and Ships. And a lot of contributors, there's people in the business that I think are on that page too. And they contribute stuff. And there's links to the actual, I think they just resold they sold the actual Eagle One, didn't they?
Yeah.
David Sisson had it for a number of years, and he sold it. But he put up a video, and the way you access the video is you can go on YouTube to look at it. But he has a breakdown of the Eagle One that they constructed for the series. And when you look at it, again, these things are beautiful to us, but they're very crude. So we took the nose cone off the cockpit, and there are two Gemini astronauts with their legs crudely cut off, so they fit behind there, just so there's something behind the windows to see. We didn't care. It looked great on TV, right? And that's one of the places. Like for Star Wars now, there's a plethora of, I mean, Star Wars, there's almost an overabundance of resources for it. Star Trek, so Star Trek, I'm trying to think of the best place to go for, it's slipping my mind right now.
Trek Core?
Trek Core is good. They have a lot of screen captures and stuff that you can find.
When Doug Drexler had his site.
Yeah, Doug Drexler had a
Online
site.
and stuff.
Drex Files, right?
Yeah, and John Eavesdropping.
Yeah, John Eaves is great too. He's a friend of mine on Facebook too, by the way.
Good name.
But
Good license.
for Star Trek, you have to decide what you want. Like, do you want original Trek? Do you want Next Generation? Do you want Deep Space Nine? So whatever project you're working on, I would recommend just, staying within that parameter of the original series. Or there's a lot of information that's out there, especially on the original series, since they finished and refurbished the actual filming miniature. So all these years, let me back up just a little bit. So the Enterprise is not light ghost gray. It's not aircraft gray. It's not ceiling. It's a grayish green color, and it's all kinds of mixed colors that you guys can see on this model. I talked to Gary Kerr, who I believe is the expert on Star Trek. Gary Kerr was one of the team that actually helped refurbish the Enterprise. And there's tons of information about it, what it looks like, and the coloring on it. Because there's debates. We're going to go into I don't know if we should with the grid lines. I don't know if we should talk about it. We could.
So I just wanted to kind of repeat back. So it sounds to me like when you're thinking about a sci-fi model that you really want to make sure you kind of at the beginning scope out what your goals are.
Yeah.
So it kind of keeps you a little bit more sane in terms of what you're looking for.
Unless you want to go insane like I do, and you don't want to do that. Because, again, I can't tell how many times they almost ended up against the kitchen wall. But yeah, you want to, for your own sanity, because there's so many. With the Enterprise, since we were talking about Star Trek, my biggest inspiration and point of reference is the 11-foot filming miniature. Now, for the original series, they had a 3-foot. This is almost 3 foot, not quite. They had a 3-foot miniature that was built, and you see a picture of Roddenberry and Jeff Hunter from The Cage, standing there holding it. And then, of course, you see the publicity pictures of Shatner holding it and Nimoy. And it's funny because it went through several different changes, and with the 11-foot miniature, they try to match it up as best they could, but it's different. It's different than the 11-foot miniature. So you see it originally, it has the spikes out of the nacelles. And then there's a picture of Nimoy, which is a cool picture, and he's holding the Enterprise. His still has the spikes on it, but then the Shatner picture has it more reflecting this, because it's the production version. This is the 11-foot miniature is my sole source of reference for this. And that's what this is based on anyway, the 11-foot miniature. So, this here, we all know what this is, right? This is the Klingon battle cruiser. Now, I was fortunate enough, a friend gifted me this kit, and I put it together. It's solid, it's almost solid resin. This is a hollow tube. This is hollow in here, and I put brass tubing all the way through, all the way back here, like this, up here. That's not how it came, but I added it just for durability and strength. But it did have brass and sections to hold it, so it was they thought about that. It's great. The problem is that this was solid resin, and the sanding, so there was a huge seam right here, and you have to. We're going to talk about that's methods of getting away, getting the seams, get them away from your model, and removing them. I do several different methods. Maybe we should talk about that now, since we've done it. Paints. What kind of paints do you guys use for your builds?
Everything.
All right, Andy.
Everything, right?
Yeah, everything out there you can try.
Okay. Yeah, everything. So I'm fortunate that I'm 10 minutes away from here. I've been coming to this AAA hobby since 1984, 83. So I've been lucky enough to have an actual brick and mortar hobby shop that I could come in at my leisure and look through whatever the paints were and all the stuff and say, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. Not everybody's as lucky as I know that the way things are now. Most of the stuff is done through the internet. And the other thing is AAA actually has Mega Hobby. You know what Mega Hobby is? Yeah, that's a separate, but they're still together. Right, Jack?
They're separate businesses, but we both buy from Stevens International Retail Distributors, which is between us. In other words, we're separate businesses, but we all kind of coordinate together. Mega Hobbies has everything that's in the warehouse, Stevens warehouse, to sell. We buy from the Stevens warehouse as well. So we're one big happy family, but separate businesses.
The other thing about coming into a brick and mortar, and I don't mean to walk off, but you know, if you save up your receipts here, I don't know if you guys know this. You save, if you come to the store and you buy, save your receipt, because guess what? That goes to a percentage off your kit purchase.
Cash and debit.
Cash and debit.
Every $100 you spend, you get 10 back.
So I mean, I spent easy in a week. With all this stuff. So that works out to be a pretty cool thing to do.
Plus, if you're a military member or retired, you get 10% off. Or an IPMS member, International Plastic Modeler Society, will give you 10% off. So we have multiple discounts. Ways to get yourself a discount.
It's not worth the fun way finding the receipts.
Nope. Keep them in your wallet.
Yeah, you gotta hide those receipts.
Put them in your wallet. Put them in
I
the
got
model
a
box.
special spot in my wallet because you can't go.
The gas receipts.
Yeah. So the paints, we all use different paints. So unfortunately, Model Master paints are no longer being manufactured. Right? We all know that.
No big loss.
Some kind of they got what do you got out there now?
Okay, the replacement for Model Master would be either Revell enamels or Humbrol enamel. And honestly, I know a lot of guys like Model Master. Enamel paints, I don't personally care for because they dry so slow. There are so many better options now as far as like acrylic lacquers like Tamiya or Real Colors, AKI, and so forth. If you really are a hardhead and you love your old enamels, testers, small bottles are still available, and like I say, Humbrol and Revell both make enamels. But personally, I'd rather spray something, if I'm mixing down airbrush, I'd rather spray something that doesn't fume and take 2 days to dry. You know, enamel's eggshell and harden underneath after a day or two. You can't mask it. You can't do anything to it for a few days. It's just, I think that enamels were the original model paint. Right. And then other things came and superseded them in ease of use and quality. So it's just, I find that the guys that come in and really, rake me up and down about testers are the old guys. The guys that have been doing it like I have since 1960. But like I say, if you guys come in here and you want a recommendation or whatever, just talk to us. We'll tell you all about the paint. I like Tamiya. I think Tamiya is one of the best airbrushing paints out there.
Yeah, Tamiya is my go. Is the Tamiya paints, and these are we brought these. I use acrylics exclusively. I will use an enamel if I have to for a certain thing, like the stun gun. Did you guys see? We were talking about Space 1999. So these just came out. The kit. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Did you guys get this yet?
It's on the list.
We have them.
Yeah, these are
For now.
These are, first of all, they're super quick to build, and they're made with the forethought of putting lights in, which is what I. Yeah. So I I shoot the cat with it. But for that, I used for the colors on this. I used Tamiya bare metal silver for the overall. After I sanded it and primed it. Now I primed it with what I do. Prime with the Tamiya prime. Okay, I use this primer. I love this stuff. It's just like it goes on like butter. Seriously, it's a corny statement, but it does. I use this all the time as my primer. Sometimes I don't use a primer. Depends on what I'm building, because a primer sometimes will maybe hide some detail work and whatnot. So sorry, this is what I use. But these two were. This was airbrush though. This was I tell a lie. It wasn't airbrush. I used Tamiya AS18. I don't have it in my head right now, but I did it on the. If you go on my third model's YouTube page, I wrote down what I used for that, just to spray it. And it came out pretty cool. They're a quick builder, and if you're a Space 1999 fan or even a sci-fi fan, they come out pretty good. These are made to put lights in, like I said, you put and the little switch. Now, this is interesting. It's called a stun gun, but they have the kill setting and the stun setting, so, okay.
Well, they just don't want to advertise that you can kill.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You need the capability just in case.
Had to sign the disclaimer first.
So
We come in peace, shoot to kill.
Oh, well, this one was a spray paint, so they were both, this was a spray paint, and both these, so they're enamels. To me, is they're, they're enamel, right?
They're acrylic lacquer.
Okay,
And
acrylic.
that's a point that you should make about Tamiya. We have their lacquer paints now. We have both the acrylic lacquer and the straight lacquer.
There you go.
Now, the acrylic lacquers can be thinned with either their thinner, which is kind of like alcohol with some other things in it, or you can use, and this is what people don't know, you can use lacquer thinner in the acrylic lacquers, and it makes the paint dry faster and dry harder. And the lacquer paints, obviously, the Tamiya lacquer, you use lacquer thinner. So if you want to use the acrylic lacquers, the original Tamiya paint, and you want a harder finish, use lacquer thinner in it. Works really great.
You guys use Tamiya paint? And the other brand I like is this, the Vallejo.
Oh, yeah.
I started using this. I really like. First of all, it's ready to go on airbrush right now. You don't have to thin it. It goes on really nice. And you know what? It smells really good. It smells like candy. All right.
I thought that was just me.
No, I like the smell. I mean, so I discovered this. I forget which model I was working on. I just tried something different. Like I said, I have the luxury of coming in here and trying something different. And I was looking at the color, and I mix all my colors anyway. So that's just the way I am. I like mixing them and to get the color the way I want it. So I saw these on. I was like, so I asked Steve, one of the guys that worked here. I said, "How's this paint?" He goes, "Ah, it's pretty good." So I took it home, and I played with it. Wow, it smelled really good. You know, it smells like candy. It smells like Easter morning or something. So I use those as well. And I'll probably try the new paint that Jack was talking about earlier. I'll probably try that because I like mixing paints up to get the colors that I want. 99.9% of the time I don't get the colors I want just out of a rattle can. I know that's going against the grain somewhat, and I don't care, but that's just the way I do it. So for example, this Enterprise here, everything here was mixed. Now, I have since learned not to get involved with debates on the colors of the ship. Paint any color you want. Paint purple, whatever. It's your... Somebody would come to me and ask me, how did you paint that? So I'm breaking it down, how I painted. And then somebody would feel the need to say, well, I feel as though, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's good. But he asked me what color I painted it, not you. Start your own thread. You know? Because then it becomes convoluted and things go crazy. And then the information doesn't get out. It doesn't get out right, you know? But anyway, the colors on this, everything on there is mixed. Everything. There's not one thing out of a can.
What made you decide to kind of go with a greenish shade?
Because that's the color.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And how do you like, obviously when you mix paints, like how do you keep track of that? Like you just keep a jar of it for the whole time? And
I do. I've learned the hard way because most of the stuff I'm doing on the fly.
right.
Okay. As probably we all are. You know, you get in that mode and you're moving and you're mixing stuff and you're in the moment and all that. I've learned, whoa, wait a minute. I got a lot more of that to paint. So let's make sure I wrote down. Okay.
Always write it down.
Write it
I
down.
keep a book next to my workbench when I paint figures and I mix colors. Always make notes.
The only thing's wrong with this is this was built years ago when the Model Master paints were out. So I use Model Master. Now I have touched it up using Tamiya, and actually this is crazy, but I mixed the Vallejo and the Tamiya paints together. So it smells good a little bit, but not as much as it normally would.
Be careful. Be careful.
Day after Easter morning.
Day after Easter morning.
Yeah.
Just be careful with thinners. In other
Yeah.
words, Vallejo paint works best with Vallejo thinner.
Right. I don't
Don't
recommend
mix your
mixing.
thinners.
Yeah, don't mix paints. Don't mix rattle cans with rattle. Like if I'm using Tamiya, if I spray paint it like these guns, that's the only thing I'm using is Tamiya. I'm not gonna go use Rust-Oleum or testers, because in the past, not all the time, but then you see it starts to bubble. It just, there's a reaction to the paint underneath. And after you put all that work in there, it's a bad way to end your day. So, anyhow, that's what that's all about. So, what else we got on here that we can talk
We're
about?
going down into photo etch parts and add-ons.
Photo, oh yeah, okay, good.
Detailing.
Detailing. How far do you guys want to go with the detail?
All the way.
You're crazy, you'll do it all.
Put a comm badge.
Who's crazy too?
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
You're crazy.
You
Yeah.
start going all the way, but
Crazy.
then you're like, you know
Yeah.
what? That's far enough.
Yeah.
You guys, it adds to the fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, luckily today, we live in such an era, a time. You know what, somebody said that the model building phase is dead. It's dead. I don't believe that. I totally disagree with that, because we have the kids, I would have thought we'd have seen these things. And these, I never thought I would see this in my 30s. Right? So, it's like, how would you, we live in a tremendous era of model building, not only for sci-fi stuff, which we'll get into with, because he's got everything there, it looks great, good, I'm gonna talk about that. But like, a U-boat, I love U-boats, right? I talked about that earlier. There's photo etch and stuff that you can put on the U-boat that makes, it just enhances the model. Do you guys still have that one by Mark in the closet over there? No, oh, all right, there's a guy comes here, his name's Mark, I don't forget his last name.
Myers.
No, that's me. Sometimes I forget that last name.
Shameless self-plug.
No, he built this U-boat and he went all out with it, and it looked great. But with the size,
Got that 54mm U-boat. Have you seen that one?
which who?
Andoran Miniatures.
Yes, I did see.
50 foot long.
Yeah, my wife would love that.
Buy a new house for your stuff.
So, Jack, thankfully, Jack put this stuff out. This is the Space 1999. These are this isn't photo etch, but.
No, those are add-on detail parts, and a lot of them are metal, I think.
Aluminum.
Aluminum, yeah.
Aluminum, yeah. So, you could alcon it? Alclade it?
Outclad.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't like the way it looked. I did that first when they first came out. The engine bells I'm talking about, okay? I did it. And some guys, I gotta give them credit, they're able to do it and it looks fantastic. I mean, it really does. But, again, if you're as crazy as I am, you wanna go the extra distance. Round 2 actually came out with these accessories for the Eagles. They really make the model pop, because it's real aluminum, okay? I mean, to me, it sets the bar a little higher on your build. And it's just, Space 1999 along with Trek and the Irwin Allen stuff is a passion of mine. So I really like the Eagles, and I wanted it to look, again, like the filming miniature. Now let's go back to what we talked initially. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. This is just an option, thankfully, that we have, that we never had before. And then what Jack was talking about was the photo etch stuff. This is for the Uss Franklin. I don't know, where's that? Is that over
It's
there?
out in the store, I think so.
Okay, so the Franklin, you get photo etch from Paragraphics to really enhance your kit, okay? And Battlestar Galactica. This is the original photo etch too. This is for the original ship, yeah. I don't think you can get the model anymore, but there's the photo etch. I don't know if the model's still available.
No, the manufacturers on the, we carry in the store here, we carry green strawberry, we carry, what is it, what's the one that starts with a P? Come on, Jack. Paragraphics.
Yeah, Paragraphics.
Paragraphics.
Oh, wow, I didn't know you had this. This is a 3D, this is from Paragraphics. This is for the Discovery of, for 2001.
Nice.
This is the interior for the, so when you open up the doors were closed up, yeah, closed the pod door. Exactly. That's pretty cool. So I would definitely do this.
Those are the two big ones we carry because they have a tendency to release these things when the kits are released, which is really nice. So if you buy a kit, 9 times out of 10, I've got some kind of detailing set. And the beauty of photo etch parts, just from a manufacturing standpoint, some detail on models cannot be reproduced thin enough, small enough, just because of molding technology. And that's where photo etch comes in. It's like if you look at a model ship and you look at the railings on the side, they always, if they're molded in plastic, they're huge, they look clunky, they just don't look right. But photo etch gives them the opportunity by etching a brass sheet to make them small enough that when you put them on and you paint them, they're a much better representation of scale. So
Scale.
that's what photo etch is about.
That's
really.
another thing I want.
Radar screens, things like that, you just can't reproduce in plastic.
Scale is another thing I want to talk about. When we talk about building a model, so I'm a stickler for me personally. Again, this is just the way I do it. Scale. Okay, what does that mean? Scale. There's several things about scale lighting. One of my pet peeves, and this is just for me. Again, if you wanted to do so, if you're having fun, you're a winner as far as I'm concerned. But my thing for building these things, scale lighting. What does that mean? That means that the lights look like they would on a real spaceship. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff. We'll play with the lights a little bit if Jack can help me out. A little bit, we'll do that. But scale lighting means that it looks real. So when the lights of this Enterprise go on, the crew should not have to wear welder's goggles to walk the hallways. All right? So that's just my, I mean, some guys want this to be seen from space, from the space station and whatnot. I don't. I want it to be seen, well, Eric's, he's probably part of that crowd.
I don't know folks that overdo the light.
And look, if you're having fun and you want to make the lights bright, again, you're a winner because you're having fun, as far as I'm concerned. Me, I'm just obsessive with the details of stuff. So when I look at the Enterprise on Star Trek on the screen, you'll notice that, and of course you're going to have people give counter arguments. Well, they got hit with tons of light on it because it's a filming miniature. Okay, all right, we're going to get it. What I mean is that the lights are not that bright. They're bright enough where you know they're on, but they're not to the point where you like, you know, when you watch the show. And I never seen Kirk or Spock walking in the hallway with, you know, with stylish sunglasses on or something.
That one episode. George,
That one episode where Spock had the thing on his back and they had but that's a big pet peeve of mine, is the scale. The other scale thing is scale weathering, which we'll get into, weathering. You guys like weathering?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Weathering is fun for me. So the actual build-up of kits is kind of dull for me right now at this point. I mean, I enjoy it, but the fun for me starts when that's done, and now the lighting starts and the weathering. I really like weathering. Why do I like weathering? Because it gives you an opportunity to make something that's a plastic toy, not a toy, let me back up, a plastic representation of something that may or may not be real, and then have it to the point where, wow, you can stand back from it. That's especially with military models. And I learned scale weathering from military modelers, like Shep Payne. You guys know who Shep Payne is? I love this guy. As a kid, not as a kid, but I was in my early 20s or so. I bought the book, Shep Payne's Guide to Building Dioramas.
How to build dioramas.
Yeah, I have that.
I have that book too.
You have that?
Yeah, I have it too.
It's a great book, isn't it?
Excellent, excellent.
You could apply, I highly recommend that book. There was a couple guys asking on the RPF, I think it was, Replica Prop Forum's a great place, they got a lot of information there, but they were asking about the weathering for the Millennium Falcon. This was a couple years ago when this kid came out. I said, listen, you need to go get that book by Shep Payne. He said, even though he's talking about tanks and all, he tells you what to do, and basically what the guys who built these miniatures did. They just used the military modelers and figured out how would this thing look real? So the streaking has to be, I mean, I've seen it where it looks like somebody, like Grandma's quilt, somebody built this thing, and it looks like, when you guys are looking at that, it looks like one color almost, right, from where you're sitting. But if you come up here, you're going to see that every panel is a different shade. There's a trick to that. It takes some time, you know. One of the things I don't do is, for this model in particular, there's a term called pre-shading.
Yeah.
You guys know that, right? Works great on some models, doesn't work. So what I'm trying to get at is not one size fits all. You have to like improvise on different builds as to what you want to get. So this one, I read up how the actual miniature, 5-foot filming miniature was built. They actually they spray painted the thing black. It was flat black, and then they layered the colors. And I have to tell you something. I was able to paint this as close to the original miniature because I had float wool. paint, no more made. You all remember floatable paints? It was a railroad color, right?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. They had them here years ago, and I bought several jars, and this stuff still was good. And I used it because it's like reefer white and grime were the
Yep.
colors for this.
Grime was awesome.
Right, grime and boxcar red and all these other colors, and it's like, wow, that's what they used on the original filming miniature. Now, scale. You can't just take any paint. Like, say the Enterprise is this color, okay? The Enterprise is 11 foot long, the miniature, so it looks a certain way. This is only 33 inches.
I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, the How to Build Dioramas book by Shep is out of publication right now, but there's an armor modeling guide that has a big chunk of that book in it.
Oh, great,
So
okay.
if anybody's interested. I mean, you can still pick up How to Build Dioramas on eBay and whatnot.
I actually just picked it up on Amazon.
Yeah, they're still
It's
out there,
hard
you
to
gotta
find,
look.
but it's-
But this one's in current publication, and it's basically about armor modeling, but it has a figure painting section and weathering and so forth. So,
Yeah, that's a great book. So, anybody here who wants to look into weathering models and stuff, that would be my first. And then, of course, is the application. What do you use to weather a model? What do you guys use to weather models? So, I'm assuming you guys have already. I know you guys have. You built. What are
Oils, inks.
airbrush.
airbrush?
Those little Tamiya mascara kits are great.
Right.
Yeah, those things are awesome.
Yeah, I got my wife busted my chops there. I bought mascaras.
To me, a panel liner.
TV and panel liner. What else?
pin washing,
What
that
else?
stuff there.
Use pastel shop.
Pastels.
Acrylic inks.
This is pastels, right?
Chalk pastels.
Guess what? That's what I used, not exclusively, for one of the applications for the Falcon. And actually the Eagles was pastels. Airbrushing. What else you guys use?
Ink.
Ink.
Soldering iron.
You know what? Guess what? He's absolutely right, because if you come over here, when you guys get up, there's a hole on the side of this ship, on the docking port, that I use the soldering iron to get that effect. And actually, it's bent up. When you look at it, this panel is bent up. It was bent up on the miniature. I used the soldering iron. I strategically held it a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna ruin this $500 model. But I was able to gently bend it with the soldering iron. So there's all different applications.
Weathering pencils,
Weathering pencils.
AKI.
Oils.
Yeah.
Oils?
Oil paint. Oil paint for washes and things. Can't beat it. You thin it with enamel thinner.
That's what I use.
Yep.
So, again, you don't want to box yourself into just using one approach. You want to experiment a little. That's part of the fun of this stuff. That's what I do. I'll come here and I'll look at whatever they have there and I'm like, huh, I never did that before. Let me try that.
No way that car will be ready by then.
But hey, here's Steve. Anyhow, here's Steve. What else we got? What else we got there, Jack? On that lit? I don't know what I took.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking about painting, and then we talked about weathering techniques. You want to talk about building dioramas, putting them into
Yes, dioramas. You guys like building
context?
dioramas? Yep. Okay. So, unfortunately, I didn't have enough room in my Jeep to bring all the stuff I wanted. But what I did do was bring this Eagle from Space 1999, and I'll put the robot over here.
Warning.
Okay.
Danger.
I love dioramas. It makes the model pop. And again, I'm going back to that book by Chef Payne. He tells you how to, you don't want the diorama to, one of the biggest tips he gives is to overtake the model. The diorama should only make the model pop. You shouldn't be your focus. Which is why, well, I do this a number. I've seen Enterprise build, see that stand right there? That's good for me. Now, some guys want this elaborate platform where it lights up and well, that's great too. But see, I use this thing to make films, make my films, and I can't do that. I can't have that. So that little stand that it comes with, that's fine for me. The same thing with the stand on this Reef here, because I make my little films with them. And if I had a big stand like that, I couldn't do it. But if it detract like this, so this is very, very simple. it's not a diorama, I wouldn't say, but it's a base. This part came with the model, but I just added the plaque, and I put this on there. I put it on top of the board. I believe it or not, it's stained. It looks kind of natural, but it is stained. And on the other side, it has like blueprints of the Nautilus that Harper Goff did. Yeah, so you built the Nautilus too, right? This is probably one of the most timeless designs. This boat here is the Nautilus. Harper Goff. You guys familiar with Harper Goff?
Yeah, that guy was amazing.
He also did the Proteus. You guys remember Fantastic Voyage? Okay, Harper Goff designed that too. But yeah, dioramas. So this one, I'll get Jack to we'll look at because the lighting's going to be coming up too.
Yeah, we'll do that.
But so,
You need help, Mark?
no, not yet. Mental help I need, but
Yeah, can't help you there, I got my own problem.
so
AAA.
so if Jack just tunes down the light a little bit. So this.
Now let's pray I hit the right switch.
Wait, hold on one second. So my eagles all light up as well. That's another thing we're going to talk about, is scale lighting, okay? Remember what I said, you shouldn't have to wear sunglasses or welder's goggles inside the ship.
Right.
So the actual eagles on the show lit up here, and sometimes they, I think one of the episodes, I'm pretty sure, they actually put lights in the engines. But most of the time, the engine, 99.9% of the time, the engines were not lit. However, the cockpit was. So you guys can see that.
You want me to hit the lights?
Go ahead and hit the light. Now we put it on top of the stand, and look at that.
And I'm gonna come in and get a little,
The spring one.
look at that.
So if you want to look at that.
Excuse me, guys.
You know what, while we got the lights out, I'm gonna, so I'll put the eagle this way so you can see the cockpit. So what is this? This is, again, I'm gonna get in trouble. I stole this from my wife, and I made there's a wood that I just fashioned together with glue, put it together on the bottom of the base. And because I was on the fly, I wanted something to show this model off. I didn't want it just looking on the shelf. I wanted it to kind of look like it did in the show. Of course, we all know, whoever watched the show, that it was much larger, the landing platform. And it was like a cross, right? There's crosses and it would come up out of the bottom. Cool, very cool effect. I just wanted a little snapshot of that. So these are string lights, okay? Where'd I get the string lights? I got them from Target, I think. They were like $1 or something a piece. And I had them. I had a bunch of them. So you know what? Instead of me using my LEDs and soldering a bunch of stuff, I'm just going to throw them in there. And that's what I did. So that's the kind of effect.
Can I make a statement?
Absolutely.
All right, when you do a diorama, and I really like this because it fits nicely on the base. What drives me crazy is when people build, say, an aircraft, and they use a teeny tiny base and the wings are hanging out over the sides and whatnot. Use a piece of material, wood, base, whatever, that's the appropriate size for the model. Don't have the model hanging out over the edges of the base and whatnot. It just doesn't work diorama-wise. But that's my opinion. But
you don't want I agree with Jack 100% because you don't want the Shep Payne, God bless him. I learned a lot from him. You don't want the base to overpower your work. The base should just enhance it. And a diorama actually has different definitions. It could also tell a story, which is kind of cool. Like if you had a couple figures here to maybe they were doing maintenance. I actually have a moon buggy. I didn't bring it with me. I forgot it. But it was a little moon buggy that I set off to the side here. It's in the same scale. It kind of looks really cool. It's like, it looks like maybe they just get out of the moon buggy and walked into the spaceship. You know, that's another thing. So with this one, anybody remember? You guys know what this is?
Spindrift.
Land of the Giants, right?
Yep.
So this baby, this lights up as well.
So are you using lighting kits in these, or?
No, not in
I didn't think so.
All right, I apologize. It looks like the engine lights aren't working right now, but
Oh, I get it.
there's the rear
There's
engine
no radio.
lights. So
That's why you got
this is not a kit. This is everything. I did this all on my own, my parts, and stuff. Soldering, and I'll get into a little bit of that too. I just wanted to show you.
They do sell kits.
Oh, you do sell kits?
They do sell lighting kits for various models. Like I've got an Enterprise lighting kit over there.
Which we
So,
will talk about when I get down.
If you're not like me, if you're not an electronics guy, and you want to buy pre-done circuit boards and lights, they are available.
So this, okay, so we'll just go down the line here. This also lights up.
There's the
That's the other eagle. All right. Now, how'd you light it up, Mark? All right. So there's an LED. It's placed center in the cockpit. The wires run through here to this part here. There's a switch I drilled right there. 9-volt battery. This, the cargo pods are detachable on these models. Okay. I just unscrew it, pull it down, and I can get to the 9-volt battery. It's that simple.
Can you change out the bodies on this, or is
Okay.
it?
So we'll put that down.
How do you decide where to put the switch?
I want it to be, good question. Who asked that? Good question. How I decide, I don't want the switch to be seen. The more hidden it is, the best. Sometimes you have no choice. But if you can hide it, like you're not going to see that switch under there. I mean, the models, you can't see it, right? So the best place to put a switch for me, for any model, is where you can hide it. And the other thing is maintenance. Whenever you put electronics in these things, something always goes wrong, right? We all know that. Things have happened, right? You want to make it so you can get in there and repair it if you have to. For example, these eagles, the cockpits come off. They just snap. They snap on and off. So I can get in there and I can get into the electronics if something goes wrong. Same thing with the spin drift. So the spin drift on the bottom, see that door on the bottom I drilled? Okay. I hollowed it out. So you can put that in there. All right, let's, you've already looked at the stun gun, right? We all like that. It's kind of cool, right? You shoot your cat with that or whatever you want. All right, here's the Millennium Falcon. Now, this goes back to what I was saying about, so the Millennium Falcon has an access point here. This model. This is the same as what they did on the original 5-foot Falcon. The rear deck came off. In fact, they are so crazy that they put the little screw heads just as it, because that's how they screwed it on. You know, they left that on there. But the Falcon, if you like, slide that up on. So there's the engine. That's cool. All right.
Well, that,
So we'll move this and we'll just keep these lit. Nautilus. Like I said, this boat, I love this boat, and I always did since a kid. All right, so the Nautilus, there's several functions on it. Here's, so the interior lights up. You guys, there's a full, this is a salon interior here.
Excuse me, guys. I'm
And
sorry.
And it has Captain Nemo there, and I've scratch built several things, but it also is a part of a kit that you could get from Nautilus Dry Docks. That's the place where you can buy this boat, Nautilus Dry Docks. And of course, here's the Alligator Lights are on. I don't know if you guys can see that. Did you see that?
Yeah.
All right. And so I need a paper clip because I have the switch hidden for the salon lights themselves, if I can get it. Oh. Wait a minute. Hold on, bear with me here. I'm used to turning it on this way. You need to put that light on for a second because I can't see where I put the switch.
All right.
I've hit it so good I can't even see it.
Far one.
Flashlight?
There you go.
Oh.
You want
There
my?
we go.
There, you
There we go.
I was gonna say, you want my optivisors, Mark?
Okay.
Beauty.
This is, and by the way, this isn't a kit. I mean, the lighting is all my own fabrication with LEDs and stuff, which I'll get into a little bit, but I don't know if we have time to actually get into. And the other thing is this has sound too. So there's a button under here. And the screw works, the propeller. I don't, you're gonna have to come up and see that, but here it goes.
And that's a really thick resin kit, right? That's the
Yes.
same. So that's even more challenging. That was crazy.
So if you can see the propeller moving, you can come up and look at it real quick if you want. Let me get these out of here.
I'll do that after we're done.
Right?
Yep. It's awesome.
Now, remember I was telling you guys about, of course you do, we've been sitting here for 3 days talking about it. Scale lighting and also how you want it to look like in the miniature. This is a raging debate on the forums. You'll notice that the lights I use, they all have a yellowish look to them. 99% of the builds, they put green LEDs everywhere. That was a bone of contention for a while with me and some everyone. So in the beginning of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, you see the Nautilus come in, and I think it sinks the Abraham Lincoln. The very beginning of the movie.
Yep.
It's under the water, it's looking really cool, looks mean, and the water is all green. Well, the water's blue. The lights are yellow. What happens when you mix blue and yellow together? You get a green glow, right? That's why I turn and make sure that it's yellow. But they're all independently operated too. You saw I had to go through one light switch for the other, so I can shut it off. I don't have to have the sound on. You turn it off.
It just needs the organ.
Yes, and I may actually, well, this boat can come apart. Like I said, remember I said you need to get access to it? So the way it comes apart, this comes out, right? The spear, the propeller comes out. The propeller actually locks, and even though it's spinning, it locks the boat together. There are one screw here, one screw here, one screw here, one screw here. So I turn the boat over on its side, Phillips head screws, I take them out, pull those out, and I'm gently lift the boat up, and I can access all the electronics that I need to do. Because this is all self-contained, there's no wires on it or anything like that. I did it that way, again, because I like to have fun with these things and make little videos of them, and I couldn't have the wire hanging out the back of the boat, it wouldn't look good, so that's why it's done that way. So
Is it
now
battery powered then?
battery powered.
Yeah.
Yep, she's battery powered. So over
Gotta
here.
move your robot over.
Oh yeah, we'll look at the robot.
Oh, to see work? Okay.
We'll see the robot, and then we'll get to the Star Trek stuff. Everybody know who he is, right?
Warning.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the photo etch parts, right? I used the photo etch parts from Paragraphics in his brain because perfect light blocker, and you don't have to worry about masking anything because you're going to see when I light them up that all the little things on his brain light up. So again, Paragraphics knocked it out of the park on that for this one. So let me.
Do you need light?
No, I should be able to do this. Just I'm blind as a bat anymore. And I'm only 35.
That's cool.
Let's see. Maybe I do need a light. Ah, that's better. There we go. Okay, we can shut the light. Now. Oh, wow. This lighting, this is a light kit, okay? I didn't do the lights in this. I reached my friend Stan, Starling Technologies. Anybody you guys know Stan? Okay, Stan does some great work. He had this kit for the robot. So it comes, this is a remote control. So I could stand back here and... Okay, so you can be across the room and
cool.
Put this on the table while your wife has her friends over and just like drive them nuts.
Yeah.
But look at the lighting, okay? Scale lighting again. The lighting shouldn't, like you guys shouldn't have to, whoa, what the heck's going on here? It looks like he's really 6 foot tall, you know. Nailed it.
Getting a lot of likes on this one.
And of course, those recordings are actually the Dick Tufeld's voice, the guy.
Not wrong.
That's funny.
That was a lot of.
So what's cool about this is that it's the lighting. You have to finagle a little bit because the lights inside the bubble are so thin; they're almost like human hair. When you thread, because you got to thread it up the shaft here, and then you got to thread it out to different points on the robot. This is also the glass bubble. Mobius came out with it. I don't know if they have them anymore. So if you want this kit, I highly recommend getting the glass bubble. What I did, they offered the glass bubble at a later date, and I retrofitted it to this. So that was a nerve-wracking experience because I had to remove the plastic one that I had on there, and then put the glass one on. So it was kind of a little bit nerve-wracking, but I was able to do it, and I'm happy with the results.
you get all the sound bites?
So, again, Stan from Starling Technology has, this is a first season version of the robot. There's 3 seasons of Lost in Space. He was painted a little differently each time. He was more colorful in the 2nd season and 3rd season. I liked the first season of Lost in Space because after that it became totally unwatchable as far as I mean, I watch it because I love it, but it's the first season was very serious. The first 5 or 6 episodes, maybe even longer than that, you know, and the lighting on the show, it just was really good. It's a good, nostalgic way it was filmed. When it started year 2, it became a comedy show, you know, I mean, we all sit and laugh. Dr. Smith insulting the robot all the time. I mean, that was funny, but I liked the first season, so that's why he's painted the way he is. So now we come over to the Star Trek. Scale lighting again, so I'll go with this first. This is the Galileo that Polar Lights came out with, which will have an interior kit eventually. We know that, right?
Right.
One of our friends, Randy Cooper, actually did an interior kit, and I think he doesn't do them anymore. But Polar Lights is coming out with their own interior kit for this. But a little bit information on this.
Is that the old AMT one, or is that the new release?
No, this is the new one.
Okay.
This is bang on, well, so this is based, 80% of this kit is based on the 3/4 size set, not the filming miniature. When you see the thing coming out of the hangar bay of the Enterprise, that's the filming miniature. There's differences. One of the differences with this was on the 3/4 size set. See the nacelles on either side, they're parallel to the side of the hull, right? Okay, they weren't on the 3/4 inch. They towed in a little bit. But when they were doing the kit, they said, nah, let's make it like the miniature where it was, even though it's not based off the miniature, we're gonna make them parallel, which I think was a good idea. I don't think we want that. But, so the way it's done is the roof can slide off, right? And I did my own little electronics, and I added the engine light. And then you could put the lid back on.
The kit includes the slide-off mechanism?
It's no mechanism, it just slides
I mean,
on and off.
includes like the guides and all that?
Yes.
You didn't have to build that?
No. So, all right, the original miniature, again, this goes back to our discussion as we started earlier today, right? You want to build it like the show, the miniature, or you want to build it on your own? If you want to build it like the show, this is the only thing that lit up on the Galileo 7 miniature. And even the large ship, okay? That's the only thing that lit up. The front nacelles, they didn't light up. Well, they did. Right? So that's how, now, I applaud guys to do this. They'll put like the lights in there just like the Enterprise's lights and make them light up, which is fine. If you want to, but again, I'm a boring guy. I'm self-admitted saying that. I've said it 20 times at least today. I just preferred that. So, there we go with that. Now, here's the original Enterprise.
Oh my God.
Now, a couple things. Mark. All right, how could I put this? All right, so the biggest thing for me in capturing the effect of the original series ship was the motors and the light effect. If you guys want to come up closer to see them. It took a lot of work to get those engine nacelles lights to work like that. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't they? I've seen blah, blah, blah. His flashing. Okay, you shouldn't go into an epileptic seizure looking at the lights on the nacelles. Okay? What did research, right? So I researched this effect on the often used effect of the Enterprise. In fact, I did duplicate it. Firing the phasers, and it's on the cover of The Making of Star Trek. You guys have that book?
Yeah.
That effect where the lights, that's what I wanted. Now there are different effects of these lights because first of all the original lights were Christmas lights. They burned out all the time. They got hot. I don't know if you guys remember when you were kids. My mother, the lights were, you would have to replace them, and that's what happened. So they would get different effects. And so you have to pick which one you want and how you want to do it. I spent a lot of time on these in cells, a lot of time.
It's kind of got like a stained glass look about it a little bit.
Well, if you notice, when they were off and the lights were on, they have an amber. They're not orange.
Right.
They're not orange. They're like an amberish brown almost. Where'd you get your information? So I have a bunch of photographs that the guys at the Smithsonian had too, but it was an actual event, 1973, I think, at a college in California where Paramount actually lent all the miniatures to this professor, and the miniatures were still pretty much intact before they were destroyed and then refurbished and all that. They are the color pictures that I used for my coloring and why I painted. Somebody asked me why I painted that greenish gray color. I forget who it was, but that's why I did it, because that's what it looked like. Now, when you photograph this in different light, it looks different. It looks gray. It looks white sometimes. You know. Scale lighting. Do you see what I mean by that? Look at the lights on the side of the ship. Do you think the crew needs to wear welder's goggles on that? Just me. You guys, if you want the welder's goggles, go ahead. Provide the welder. Provide the welder.
So how do you scale it down?
Resistors? Okay, so a little bit of, that's going to be an entirely different subject, but I'll touch upon it a little bit. Okay. Lighting, for this, since we're talking about this, resistors, which will, basically what a resistor will do will decrease the amount of power that the lights will get, okay? Another way to do it, you have to diffuse the lighting too. So what do? Okay, see the clear windows? They're sanded on either side. Both, one side that goes inside the model and the side that needs sanded.
So you're frosting the windows.
Frosting the window. What I also do is I spray clear flat before they're installed on the back side of it, and then once the model's all put together, of course it gets multiple coats of clear flat, and that'll tone it down too.
Did you bring this to Jersey Fest for your seminar?
I did.
Have you been working on it since then? Because it looks different. It looks better now.
Yes, because I got more, when I brought it to Jersey Fest, that was how many years ago?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. Anyhow, when I brought it there, yes, I accurized the
It
cell
looks
light.
better. It looks so much better.
Yeah, it was, now I won't touch it. You have to, that's the other thing that Brendan, you know what? You have to know to a point where you say, okay, that's it, I'm done. You can't keep going back at it. This is, I'm not touching it anymore, it's done. That's it, you know? So, yeah, it was updated from then. I actually, because the restoration happened, and I got some pictures of the actual coloring and stuff that I applied to it, and I was able to do that. So, yeah, that's the original one. Now, here we come to the Reef. Now, let me go on the other side, because I got control here. Ah, it looks like Christmas morning now.
Christmas table, yeah.
All right, so. This doesn't light up.
You can sit it right here, Mark, if you want.
I don't want to put it on decal.
No, you're fine.
I slacked on that one.
No, actually, no, you're right. I did slack on it. The only reason I didn't light it is you know why I didn't write it?
Present, right?
No.
Oh.
Why wouldn't I light it? Based on what we've been talking about.
It wasn't lit.
Wasn't lit in the original series.
It wasn't lit in the
That's
original
right.
series. There was no lights on the Klingon ship in the original series.
That's right.
I would have made it like Star Trek 6.
Yeah, well, that would have been cool, right? But I was like, you know what? This gives me an excuse not to put the lights in.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I did.
Torpedo Bay.
Yeah.
So, this one here, this is the Reef. Let me pull it up a little bit so you guys can see it. This actually has lights and sound. All right, let me back up a little bit. Okay, so the construction of this thing is a nightmare, which we talked about earlier, right? You guys have all built one of these things?
Oh, yeah.
Not yet.
All right, well, who hasn't yet? You?
No, I built
Who didn't? You?
It's my, every time I try and pull one out, I watch a YouTube video and it shows a person crying endlessly.
So get yourself a bottle of scotch, sit down.
Start, and that's it.
This was, it comes out beautiful, but it's a bear to work with, okay? And I'll leave it at that for that, because it's kind of unfair, because it is accurate, and it's a great kit once it's put together, but it was in the beginning stages. You could see how Polar Lights by leaps and bounds has has given us this, and the eagles and everything, so I'm ready to, I'm not gonna bust on them too much. The only thing is with this is the painting. Well, no, the lighting as well, okay, the lighting on this thing.
Just the lighting, the painting, and the assembly, other than that, it's great.
Exactly. So this has lights and sound, and comes with a remote. Okay.
TMP sounds.
This is based on the motion picture. This is where the ship is sitting in dry dock in the beginning of the film. There's nothing else lit except the internal lights that you see lit there. Actually, if you guys want to see it, the Shuttle Bay is fully detailed. If you want to come around and look at this, let me, before I fire it all up, because this is what it looked like in the...
Engineering to all decks.
That was just
Auxiliary power test in 3 minutes.
So if you guys want to take a look at that, the Shuttle Bay is completely detailed. And what we were talking about earlier, the photo etch parts. Okay, the interior of that bay has all
Base
photo etch
matrix
girders
restoration coils.
in scale, and it has photo etch railings, everything. If you want to take a look up close, it came out really good. I'm pretty proud of it.
The wreck deck looks pretty, just from here I can tell it looks pretty cool. On the back of it.
All right,
The
so
sound out of it is phenomenal.
yeah, well, I stole my son's
Okay.
speaker here.
So it's not what came with it.
No, actually, no. It comes through. It comes through pretty good. But the Bose system actually
gotcha.
enhances it. Okay.
Okay.
So now we're not going to sit here and listen to all this, but then she fires up, right? Might help if I. That's going to make a liar out of me.
Need a light? Murphy's Law says it only happens in front of the audience.
I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Hold on, man.
Kind of ruined the effect for you.
Start up, yeah.
Battery in your remote, maybe?
No. Let me get over that. Okay. It's been sitting on a shelf for years now, so. Maybe I gotta go. Wow, that one.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Saw what I went through earlier.
Now I can't even shut it off. Sure you don't need the battery?
I think it's battery in your remote, maybe. Just,
No, it shouldn't.
just open it up and insert the battery if you can.
Yeah, sometimes you can get another day or two out of your remotes that way.
Yeah.
It's for a Microsoft product, and that way they tell you.
On TV remotes, you just open up the back and roll them a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so.
You can finish watching your channel. Don't you have any of those batteries here?
No.
I don't know why she's not doing it.
I think it's the battery.
It could be.
She had one last button in her.
Yep.
There it goes. Oh, there we go. All right.
right.
Look at that. See, you all thought I was fudging you, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
All right, so it's starting to look.
Oh my God.
You got the spotlight right on the
numbers.
mid.
All right, so yeah, that's an effect. It's.
The Raytheon.
I don't know what the hell a Raytheon is. Who would?
It's basically like they sanded the inside
Oh, okay.
and they did
All right, so what I did.
Push light up through it.
they were supposed to look like it's actually shining onto the detail.
What I did was actually with a Dremel. I've seen that, and to me it looked too clean.
Yeah,
It looked too much. So I went outside my house and looked at the lights, spotlights on my house.
Right.
All right, this is how crazy I am. So I went outside and looked at the spotlight. And I'm like, wow, the spotlights, there's kind of a fading and there's kind of a breakup there. What I saw with some of these is that they're too perfectly circular, too perfectly round, which then going back to the film and looking at it on the Blu-ray, that's not the way it was in the original movie. It's kind of, if you come up closely, you're going to see some of the NCC is not lit, it's not illuminated. That's the effect I want. How do I do that? I got a Dremel tool inside the plastic,
And
gently. No, I just went around, like, so here's, it's an oval shape. I did the oval shape very gently, and it broke it up a little bit, so when the light comes on, it's like, it's fragmented a little bit, so it looks like a real spotlight.
Right.
So that's what I did. So let's see if everything else works. Yep, okay, so now the navigational deflector on the front.
Awesome.
All right, it got a little brighter. Now, what had happened here is, see, there's the eye right here. If it gets any dirt in it, it's going to mess up the remote. So I actually wiped it, and I see.
So it's an IR remote, not like a Wi-Fi or radio.
No, it's like yeah. So now we're gonna go into warp now. So we're gonna hit that button again. So deflector goes to blue.
Wow. And the nacelles, nice. Must have taken forever to do that.
If I wanted to drop it back out of warp into sublight, you hit the button again. So now she's in sublight again, and the impulse engine goes on.
Nice.
Okay? And here's another cool thing.
Bridge went to red. Nice.
Photon torpedoes too. You got it all, man.
All right, and now, okay, so we got the alert, right? We're going to fire photon torpedoes. If you look underneath.
Oh yeah, this was
Oh yeah. Oh, the torpedo.
Do that again, Mark. Oh, okay.
Oh, it'll continue to do it. Now we want phasers, right?
Beauty.
We're going to have phasers and photon torpedoes. See the phasers underneath?
Very cool.
Pretty cool, right?
Very.
All right, so now we'll stop that. And maybe we want to go back into warp, and the nacelles will change color because in the motion picture, the nacelles were also purple. There you go.
Man, the purple's cool. Did they ever talk about why they had two different colors on the nacelles?
They did, but you know what? I remember reading up about it, and I don't remember exactly, so I don't want to confuse anyone. If you look online, there's a couple places that talk about Star Trek motion picture exclusively, even on Facebook. And a couple of the guys that actually worked on the film, they tell you why it was purple in some situations, why it was blue. But here, scale lighting again, right? Look at the front of the deflector dish on this. See how it's, you can see it, right? It should be a flashlight.
Right.
It shouldn't be, it's not the front of a railroad tree.
Yeah. The anti-hurtle model that came with the lighting,
Right.
It was basically a flashlight.
But you'll notice that my lighting, internal lighting, see how subtle it is? It's not overpowered. It shouldn't be, in my opinion.
Who made the circuit?
Okay, so this circuit, I didn't cobble it. Well, I did some modifications to it, but not much. So I'm not gonna. I got it from Shrek Modeler, and he provides circuits pre-built for your model. Okay, if you want to go there. Now there's other venues, or there's other vendors and stuff that offer that you could sit there and solder everything together. I actually have another one that I'm going to, because I'm hoping that Polar Lights Round 2 will come out with the Reliant.
Right.
I have everything ready for the Reliant once it comes out. I'm ready to go.
That's great.
Here's the
That's a lighting kit from.
lighting kits. Okay, this is a lighting. All right, this is going to be a fun.
Can we pop the light on?
Yeah, you can put the lights back. So the Enterprise, my Enterprises that I built, have all used this kit. This is the Polar Lights lighting kit. Now, you're going to see nothing but it's too loud. The engine motors are too loud. Okay. You build models, or you want the okay? All right. You got to first of all. I'm sorry, but it becomes. I've never had a problem with this. Let me step back. I've had to replace parts and stuff, but I was able to do it. For me, I've used this kit exclusively for almost every one of the builds that I've done. I've never had a problem with it. But you see what I did in my nacelles. I changed it. That's not what you're going to get out of this kit. I should point that out. The effect that I got on the nacelles, and even the internal lighting, because it's bright, which is good. It's better to have it bright because you can trim it, you can tone it down. But the nacelle lighting for me is a stickler. So I do a lot of modifications to the nacelles. And if you look at my engines here, see how they're spinning? They're not spinning real fast, are they? Do you hear anything?
No.
Okay. That's the Polar Lights kit. There's guys that'll bash this kit online because they're trying to push one vendor or the other. Do what you want to do. I'm telling you personally, this is the kit I use. And I've never had a problem. And I customize it so I can get that effect so it looks like the TV series. I've seen them where they look so bright, you need the welder's goggles. And somebody's doing them now where they're not using the motor. There's no spinning of the fan blade anymore. Somebody sent me a video saying, this guy looks great. Okay, let me take a look. And the motors don't spin.
LED
that was
circuit.
one of,
Yeah, nice.
No, there are no LEDs. The lights, first of all, the lights are way too bright.
Right.
And they're popping and, I was going to have an epileptic seizure. They're popping too much, and they're not spinning. That's one of the, in fact, the guys at the Smithsonian at first weren't going to do that when they restored it, but they were smart enough to say, no, we got to put the motors in because that's what the original thing had, motors. That's what caused that spinning effect. You can't get it any other way. You can't use LEDs because LEDs. Do you see the lines?
Yeah.
There's like lines.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't get that effect with LEDs. That's just me. You guys want to build it the other way? That's fine. Again, we're all. That's a good. Good if you want to do it. But this is the lighting kit. Is this the new one that just came out?
Yes.
You got that one?
Yep.
Okay. I'm building one for Bruce here. I'm going to use it. This is the last one. I'm never building them again.
Nice. That'll add $300 to the price.
Anyhow, that's so.
Beautiful.
I don't know what time it is. Do we still got time? Or?
You got time. It's 20:03.
All right. What do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. Shoot.
I guess the question is obviously the lighting kits are pretty pricey, especially if you buy the high-end lighting kits, and they do tier it down. I noticed you can get some with actual lasers for the phasers that'll actually.
All right. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
I've gotten private messages to do that. Can you put laser? I won't do it.
Right.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. The chance that you may injure an adult, child, or your pet, your mother-in-law, whoever, with those laser lights,
I'm going to scoot you over here. Stick this back here.
for me, and it outweighs the coolness factor if there is one. Now I know there's a couple guys that, well, I have them fill out these disclaimer forms. I don't care. If I'm the result of some kid going blind because he's looking at a toy, then I'm not going to live it. So I just flatly refuse to put lasers in anything.
Right.
Because, and you brought that up, is because because I just put a light in here, right? Yeah. You could put a laser in there. No, I'm not putting a laser in there. If you feel like you need to put a laser in there, go ahead. You can kill mosquitoes. Okay, if you need this to kill mosquitoes, then please.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, that's like my favorite spaceship probably of all time.
What, the refit?
The refit.
Yeah.
It's like iconic, kind of. I know it's really hard, the painting's hard and all that stuff, but my first experience with getting the kit, I didn't pay for my kit because I walked into a hobby shop, the guy was he had it all lit up, he did all this effort, he hit the button and nothing happened. And then the kit went flying into the dumpster. The guy freaked out, had a complete mental breakdown in the parking lot, and was like, "Hey, if you want to build it, it's fine. You just strew the." He had 2 kits. He threw
That's the
other
first
kit.
time I met you, right?
Yeah, it was. So he threw it at me, and he's like, "Good luck." And he walked off, and he never did it again. I guess so I'm always nervous about, like, you know, putting it together.
What's your question? Is it worth it?
I mean, the lighting kits themselves, obviously, like, for that kit, there's no way I'm going to solder to that level. So, like, you know, the kit may be $100, $150. The lighting kits can be as high as, like, you know, $700.
Yeah,
I guess that's the thing that really kind of, like, gives me pause is to...
Well, that's the reason why, well, okay. I'll put it in perspective. So, is that light still on?
Yep.
Hey, Mark, do you want to leave them on so that when you're done, I can hit the lights and the guys can come up and look at everything?
I'll put the Nolas back on again. I'll get the robot again, so I'll leave her. What were we just saying?
Just the whole, like, somebody attempting
Oh,
something
put it
like
in
that.
perspective. Okay, yeah. So when I build these, I solder every connection, and I use the polar lights kit, and they come with these. You guys use this kit too at one time, right? Polar lights kit, the lighting kit. They have these little clamp things that snap.
Little Olex type connectors?
You never know.
Modeler connector, yeah.
For somebody who can't, for somebody who doesn't have any soldering experience and wants a lit model, I think polar lights did them good. Okay? That's seriously.
Yeah.
If you don't have any soldering skills, you don't need any to put the lighting kit in there. And I think with that new kit that just came out, they improved it a little bit more. So, like anybody who want to put lights in it, you don't have to be like a solder professional.
Yeah.
Good for them. That's good for everybody. Me though, when I build them, I don't care. I solder every freaking connection. You know why? You know why? Because I can't get into this. Tell a lie again. I can. I can get into the main board, which is right here, by removing the deflector dish. This part comes off. I don't do it for the ones I build for people because they're going to break it. They're going to get in there and no.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. I got it set up. It's good for you. It's good. Mine, I can get in there and I can adjust it and fix it. If something goes, hopefully, and these I can maintenance, because you brought it up, Eric, because you said it looks different. That's because I can remove this whole assembly and get in there and work on the motors and stuff if I want to. But there's also, on mine, I have a potentiometer. You guys know what a potentiometer is?
Yeah.
In here, there's a potentiometer. I could speed up the nacelles. So if you guys see my videos, sometimes they're going real fast, right? The reason they do that is because I got a potentiometer. I could speed it up and slow it down as much as I want. And I'll tell you, how did I learn all this? I didn't go to tech school or anything. I learned just by books, and I learned by the internet. You gotta go. So you go to people that really know what they're doing and talking and know how to do the stuff. The information's out there. Everything, nothing here is a secret. Any other questions?
Yeah, just bring it back to the question I originally asked before the
3 days ago?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Still curious. So the question I asked was, when you're going into something that you haven't done before, and you're not sure if it's going to work or not, like pushing past the idea that holds you back, that you want to, you know what you want to make, but you don't know exactly how to do it. What pushes you past is just go and do it, because you stand a chance of ruining a $100 model.
Right.
But you know.
Okay, so I got you. All right, so yeah, we before the camera we had a technical difficulty.
Oh,
so,
stop bringing it up.
so
somebody's in trouble.
I would say this. So you can't be hard on yourself.
Be willing to mess it up.
It's only a model. Wait, now you said $100 model. Some of these things are, they could be expensive. Just nature of the beast, but when it comes down to it, they're just plastic. Most 99.9% of the problems are mistakes that you can make or damage something. You can fix it. You can fix it. You know what? I'll tell you an example. On this eagle, this will play into what you're talking about. This eagle here, see the shoulder pods on the back? Well, they're not the shoulders, but on the back, the pods, right? Okay. You would think I would know, after building so many of these things, that I would know which one goes on where. No, I one day I messed up. I was like, oh my God, and I glued it in, and I had to cut the thing. So luckily there was enough of the pod that I could use a razor saw and cut it off. Didn't panic. Anybody, I mean, you know, normally I would go, oh my God, no, I just fashioned a piece out of brass, attached it to that, I cleaned it up, and I used kit sprues for the damaged area, sanded them, primed them, repainted them. You can't even tell what I did. I'm telling you, I messed up on it, because just to illustrate what you're saying. I just kept pushing forward. I did step back, because at first I was like, wow, I just ruined this beautiful model. And before I got mad at myself and all, I'm like, oh, I can fix it. It's just plastic. I can fix it. And that's what I did.
Yeah, don't throw away sprues.
No, they are, again, and this goes back to Chef Payne, he used a lot of the detailing on his custom armor, tanks, planes. He used the sprues and used the candle to make them like aerials, door hinges.
Solder. For piping and things like that, he used solder.
Solder.
Because it bends nice and easily.
Oh, okay. Remember we were talking about solder? If you come up to the Millennium, or maybe I should just lift it. If you look at the docking port, see that hole?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. All right, that was my solder gun did that. I just put it in there, but I detailed the inside a little bit. Airbrushed it, not black. Airbrushed it dark gray, darker gray, so it looked like it's supposed to be a blast hole there. And then you see where see where it's bent here? I just floated you can use a torch too, you know, one of the little torches that they have here. You can do that too, but I was like, so I used my soldering gun and did that, and I was able to bend it gently and bend it, soften the plastic. Came out perfect. You gotta be willing, you gotta give yourself a chance, and you gotta be willing to take chances sometimes. You never know what you could, if you put yourself in a box, you're like, you'll never expand, which is one of my arguments about getting them close to the filming miniature. Some people won't do it. They put a restriction on their own because, I'm not going to do that. Why? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try that? Well, so every little, I have to say this, I was obsessive with this model. Every little streak on here, this is how crazy I am, is actually on the filming miniature. I have a picture. Mr. Bill George of ILM posted. You guys know Bill George. He posted the Falcon out in natural sunlight. Top. I use that as reference. And I actually have a photograph of this next to it. Just to prove, I want to put my money where my mouth is. So I put both of them. Just to show. Well, why would you do that? Because that's how crazy. That gives me joy to say, wow, that looks just like the thing. That's,
And if you're going to put that kind of coin out for that kit, why wouldn't you? Right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, it's not the most inexpensive thing in the world, so why not go there?
I don't even know how much these things go for.
They're
$600.
From what I hear, they're up there.
300, 400.
Yeah.
Now,
well beyond what I'm willing to pay for it.
you guys sold out of these, Jack.
Yeah, they've been out for a while. Bandai's tough. Bandai's tough to get in general.
Just wait.
Right now.
Bandai is probably the best manufacturer. I love their kit. Now, having said that, round 2 is actually up their game. Their stuff is they're really good. In fact, what has happened is most of the kits that we get now are all like getting so much better, which goes back to what we talked to initially about the rumor that the hobby's dying. It's not dying. I think it's more, the only thing we got to do is get the kids. Get the kids involved.
Mark, Josh and I talk about this all the time. We get people that want us to do commissions for them on various model kits. You've kind of made that transition, and we're always leery about even entertaining something like doing a commission for somebody, because then your hobby becomes kind of your job. You know, like, and it's hard to, I feel it's harder to push through something that's not for you, for somebody else. How do you keep going, like building a kit when you're kind of stymied, when you know it's a commission? How do you keep the love of what you're doing when you're doing it for money?
Like when you're pressed up against the deadline.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So I have to say this. Most of the guys that I build for respect my work and respect the amount of stuff that I put into my work. So I never have any problems. One guy I did. A couple guys, but one guy in particular was recent with that eagle. I built another one of these up. No good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
So I tried to do them solid and slide them in between builds that I'm doing. And he wanted it tomorrow.
Right,
That ain't
they
happening.
all do.
They want it tomorrow. If you want it tomorrow, go to Kmart. Well, you're not gonna find an Eagle at Kmart, but.
Not gonna find a Kmart
Oh, wow, yeah, you're not Kmart.
Go to Walmart.
Oh, there's no Toys R Us either.
Go to Walmart.
Target?
I know, we're
Well, I hear
struggling now.
Walmart's starting to show some
Yeah.
sci-fi kits.
Yeah.
Yep.
They actually had some Bandai kits showed up at Target the other day too.
So how do I push through it? You gotta be
Yeah,
professional.
that's one of the reasons you can't find them at the local.
You have to be professional, like I was saying about these things. I'm sick of them.
Right.
But I'm professional in it. It's something I want, and this is gonna sound corny, but I mean every bit of it. So when I'm building one of these for someone, a friend or whatever, I'm envisioning myself waiting for this. Like, wow, I can't wait to get this thing. So I'm like, I'm totally obsessive with making sure that it is perfect before it even leaves my house. I'll have it, because there's stuff, and you guys know, you've all done it, I'm sure. You'll sit there, you'll complete this, right? And then you'll be like, wow. And then we'll come back a day later, and well, wait a minute, I forgot that, maybe I should do that a little different.
Yeah.
I do that on purpose, because you come at it with a fresh perspective. The other thing I do is look at it in a mirror. Not that generally, because I don't have a big enough mirror with that, but I'll look at it in the mirror, and you could point out mistakes because you're looking at it from a different viewpoint, especially with weathering. I'm like, whoa, that doesn't look right. So then I'll go back. It's just a little thing. You gotta be professional about it if that's what you want to do.
One thing I found when I talked to Steve Neal about stuff, he said, I said, well, if you professionally make a model for somebody, how much do you charge? He goes, you need to charge, you need to look at, the heat in your house, the electricity you're using, all the stuff that you're using.
He's 100% right.
And
marriage counseling costs.
Divorce attorney. Divorce attorney.
Yeah, but I mean, and I said,
booze.
Booze.
I think at the time, because he has a 66-inch, version of the original Enterprise that he built from scratch. He was selling those for like $25,000. It's like $25,000. I was like, I can never do. He goes, no, you have to charge what the model costs. I'm like, but I could do it for $500. No. Can't do it for $500.
Your time isn't free.
Your time. So he said, even if you did it for minimum wage, if you did it at $7 an hour and you did whatever it was, that would be like $2,000. You're charging $2,000. So you have to charge what you think your time is worth.
No one will ever give you what your time is worth.
Yeah,
I worked at a design firm for 15 years in the model shop. And we worked at that time, this is in the late 80s, early 90s, at about $25 an hour. That was our wage. When someone comes into the shop and says, I want that model, you sit down and say, okay, it's going to take me 200 hours to do it, or 100 hours. This is my hourly rate. You give them the quote, and they say, no, I can't. That's what my time is worth. So that's how you really have to figure it. It's like, right now, if someone asked me to build something out there, I'd say $50 an hour. And this is how long it's going to take me if you really want it. And most of the time I do that to discourage people because I don't want to take commission.
Right, yeah.
You gotta get what your time is worth. And then you add in materials, kit, paint, all of that on top of that.
If they want lighting,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to give you any extra credit for competing with like a Chinese sweatshop.
Nope.
Like,
That's a killer too now, because you can go out and buy collectibles that are all assembled, and they don't look bad, but they're not going to be weathered. They're not usually going to have lighting, things like that.
I got a question. What's your take on that? Now it's probably not available anymore. That assembled and painted Enterprise from Polar just came out.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say that it's good because it's for someone who doesn't have the time to build it, or the skill, or they don't want to pay somebody to build it. I think that's a viable option.
Yep.
And from what I've seen of it, I mean, it doesn't look. You're not going to get that.
It's heavily weathered, too heavily weathered in my opinion. But that's.
Repaint
yeah,
it. Repaint it.
Yeah.
Well,
if you wanted to.
Well, I do know this, that it's covered with decals.
Yeah.
Okay. So the weathering is not. This was done by what we were talking about earlier, pastels, airbrushing, pencils, oils, all this different colors that you see on the hull. And I didn't do this arbitrarily. I used reference of the actual filming manager. So I just wanted to, you're not going to get that on that pre-built kit. I've seen it too, and I've seen the streaks all over it and all. But again, it's a viable option. You gotta, it's like somebody who wants a nice enterprise and can't afford it. That's best for them. I don't have anything. I think it's great.
Good example of that. If you go out in their front showcase, there's a Batmobile up on the top shelf with the Batman figure that I painted.
Yeah.
And I think 30 years ago, I bought a Lunar Models Batmobile in 24 scale, a resin kit, and I must have spent 5 years trying to get it to look decent. Decent. Halfway, 3/4 done, I walked into a comic book store down the street from and saw that one. Bought it. The Lunar kit's still somewhere on the workbench under it. You know what I mean? And that's a really nice piece.
You guys remember Lunar Models?
Yeah.
I cut my teeth on Lunar Models.
Nasty stuff.
And your fingers several times.
Yeah. And breathed all that resin before we knew better. Nasty stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
But yeah,
Oh, I've lost years.
That kit from Polar Lights, that pre-assembled kit, is not a bad. That's again, it's a viable option for people who can't, that don't want to do it or whatever.
One last question.
Yeah.
I know we're getting a lot of sci-fi models. No one ever thought we'd ever see a space thing in an Eagle kit ever again after the MPC kits and stuff. What's on your wish list? Like I know every year they do a manufacturer's roundup and they want people to build something. What would be the top of your wish list?
From Space 1999?
From any sci-fi kit you could have. If a manufacturer started making one, what would you want?
Right now? Well,
Yeah.
they've already hit the Jupiter 2. They've already got that, the Reef, I guess, the Reliant.
Yeah.
The Reliant, I love that. I just love that. I'm not too, I know they're coming out with a 1/350 scale Grissom.
Yep, that's on
Okay.
It's gotten here yet.
I mean, I know a lot of people like that shit. I personally, it was in the movie, 5 minutes and got blown up. But it was also used, I think, in Next Generation and stuff.
Was it
like
the Pegasus?
Yeah, it was the Pegasus.
Yeah.
It's that science research kind of. Yeah.
It's a nice looking,
Yeah.
I'll definitely get it. But the Reliant's it's the top of my.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's probably the coolest looking, one of the, not as cool as that, but it's,
Right.
and I'm all ready for it. I have all the electronics, I'm gonna be sitting there soldering everything, putting it together. Yeah, I'm waiting for that. This I was waiting for. This was like on my wish list. And then when Bandai announced they were doing it, I was like, wow. As soon as they announced it, I did the pre-order. But I think Polar Lights is doing another one. They're reissuing the original one we bought when we were kids, but they updated it a little bit. So that's going to be good for people who don't want to go the full 9 yards for something like this. You know, it might be something fun to modify, make it look like it did in Solo or one of the other Star Wars films that had the Falcon in it.
And you know something not to overlook are the little bitty kits. In other words, Bandai makes a lot of like 144. I built the little Razor Crest that just came out.
Is it cool?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful model. It took me about an hour to put it. No, it took about 15 minutes to put it together. Like 2 hours to weather, panel line, and give it to my daughter. But don't overlook those little teeny ones. They're they're beautiful models.
I should have brought some. I have an. If any of you guys are familiar with my work, I have an AT-AT, the 1/44 scale AT-AT that I photographed. It looks like it's huge. That's a beautiful kit.
They are
It's only
nice.
About this big, and Slave One, the Boba Fett ship.
You ever do a walker?
Yeah, the Walker. I was just saying that.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm talking about like the Imperial
It's a two-leg.
Walker, the four-legged.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's called an AT-AT.
Oh, I was thinking about the two-legged one. Is that the ATST?
ATST.
Yeah.
That's a chicken walker they call it.
Yeah. All right, that's what I was gonna
I wouldn't mind that thing.
It was kind of cool in Empire Strikes Back when you see it walking.
Yeah.
It was cool in Mandalorian.
I'd love to see like the Nostromo with.
Oh yeah, there you go. I totally forgot that.
With a refinery.
Yeah, the Nostromo would be. I would like to see the Nostromo like it's a crazy scale. It's a huge
Yeah, it's
ship.
big, but still.
about this big would be good. That's an ugly ship, but I like.
I loved it in the Aliens movie.
Yeah, Alien has some good production. They got some great stuff.
They actually do need to repop some of those older kits from that.
Well, who was the company that did do the Nostromo? They did it back in the late or early '80s.
The vinyl company.
Yeah, it was
like
vinyl company.
Horizon?
Horizon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Halcyon. Yeah, it's
Halcyon
a
and
good-
Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do need to. I'm surprised there isn't any Nostromo out there yet.
I mean, I've seen people take like those airport cars and turn them into like the armored car from Alien?
Yes, well, that's what it was based on.
Yeah.
That's what it was initially, yeah.
We need to put that drop ship back out too.
The drop
thing
ship
was
That's
awesome.
hard to find.
Yeah. And then the Nautilus is still only available in resin. I can't believe they never did like a injected of
This is
that.
a missed, yeah, this is.
That's a missed opportunity for
Bandai would kick the.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Bandai, oh, yeah. Well, I think the problem with the Nautilus, and I could be wrong, but, is the licensing. I don't think
Disney's difficult. Revell right now, the Razor Crest from Mandalorian is coming out. Revell Germany is making it. And I asked the guys here, are we going to get a ton of them? They said no. Revell US does not have the Disney license, so those will stay overseas.
Yep.
And that's the
Same
same
with
issue
the
that we
Star
had
Trek.
with Bandai years ago when Star Wars stuff was coming out. They didn't have the license to distribute it here. So that, yeah, Disney licensing is really a...
I don't think Disney knows what they have. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They're coming out with a new series now.
Yes, the prequel.
Yeah, called
series.
Nemo or
Yeah.
Nautilus. It's called Nautilus.
Or Nemo or something. I think it is Nemo. It's about him.
It's the, yeah, it's about Captain Nemo and how. Now this is what, of course, I'm not going to judge you until I see
Finding
it. They
Captain
said that
Nemo.
one of the things that bothered me was we all remember 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Nemo built this boat because he was a genius, right? In the story, even in Verne's story.
I heard it was contemporary, not
Contemporary.
Victorian.
Oh, is that
that'll
what it is?
blow.
Oh, the other thing that's a problem is they say
Sorry.
Nemo
Sorry.
steals the boat.
Yeah, not a fan.
They're taking away everything that the character. Well, that's another discussion.
It was, I mean, it is another discussion, but the whole concept of like the dashing hero being the buffoon, the scientist guy being the hero, and the villain not necessarily being the villain was the whole premise of why the
Great
movie was
movie.
amazing.
All right, so I think we're wrapping it up now, Jack. Okay.
Be great.
One quick
So-
question.
Yes.
What's your take on using fiber optics?
Oh my God.
I've used them in applications. It depends on.
It probably depends on the scale, right?
Right, like so Space 1999, you know how they just came out with the Moon Base Alpha? I would use fiber optics with that for all the little lights.
Okay. I did it on the D, and they all popped out. When I went to grab it, I like bled out of like 400 little paper cuts.
So we want to thank Mark for coming in and doing his presentation. This was really interesting, a lot of fun. Your Facebook page is the Third Models, or your website.
Well, it's the Facebook page, and then you can just go on Mark Myers on Facebook.
There you go, the Third Models is where I
If
go.
you guys want to check. On YouTube, it's the Third Models.
Right.
So if you guys want to look at my work, a lot of the stuff is like on there, but they're space and flying in space and all kinds of stuff.
And don't forget AAA Hobbies. If you come to our YouTube page, we'll have this video up from this seminar, and I've got all kinds of other seminars going. And stop by the store. You never know, Mark may be here. If you want to talk to us about paints and so forth, this is your source for all this material, all these models, all these paints, all these glues. Come in, happy to talk to you. So
I'm really appreciative of all you guys.
Yep, thanks for
down, so
everybody
I
for
really
coming.
do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Jack's going to hit the lights if you want to come
Yeah, if you guys want to look at that, I'm just going to turn my thing off here.
Yes.